guys, it's me again. I know, second time by myself, but I can assure you, Shukuru, she's fine. She's the one who did everything, preparing everything, and she's the one who gave me the topic, the one that I had. I had a different topic, but she gave me something different, which I'm happy to talk about. Um, if you have been watching our last three episodes, you will see like there is a pattern that we are going with, and today the topic that we have is if my view on Christianity has changed from where I was. When I say what I mean by where I was is like from moving from Burundi to coming here. If my view on Christianity, the way that I worship, the way that I guess I live my life as a Christian, if it has changed, which it would be a totally lie if I say it hasn't changed. I mean, it has changed in a lot of ways. And just for to give you guys a background, I would say that just like we said with our first episode, Christianity as a Christianity, I feel like in Africa we kinda take Christianity with our culture, so we put it together. Some stuff it's not like a sin, but due to our culture, we kinda see it as a taboo, and that's how I lived. I feel like, and please, from the beginning, let me just say this: sorry for anybody who's going to feel bad, but this is my experience. This is how I see it. This is how I've seen things change for me, and this is how I feel. So it doesn't have to be your how it doesn't have to be of your what you live. It doesn't have to be what you experience, but this is my story and how I've seen things change for me, and what I am right now as a Christian in my walk with Christ. So as I said, growing up, I grew up in a Christian household. My parents are Christian. They were Christian since, and I was going to. I won't say I was going to a particular church that I won't say the name, but anybody who knows me, who knows my history, they know where I was going. Um, I started going there at a young age, and until I think when I was probably two, 13, 14. Yeah, I think until I was 14. And after that, I decided to go to join my parents because my parents were going in a different church as than us. I would say children, we had our own church, and my parents had their own place that they were going to worship. And from where I was going, it was kind of. And this is not only because of the church. I feel like it goes with how our coach has been deep in our faith and religion as a Christian, which make it sometimes hard for certain people. I maybe I say for me, because from where I was going, there are so many things that we could not do. There are so many things that we was seen as a taboo, as a sin, as something to be ashamed of. With that, for example, let's say something like you do something as a sin. In a way, it was hard for you to ask for forgiveness to God. I would say honestly, most of the thing I'm grateful for my parents, my dad and mom, because home we do what is called ibada to Naomba and everything, and that kind of made a safe space for us, and we learn and we grew as Christians in a way that I feel like personally I was not able to do it in the church that I was going to, just because most of the things that we're doing they were making. Uh, okay, again, me. I wanna say this. It's me. Most of the time, I feel ashamed. I was meant. I was feeling like when I do something, when I sin, I could not even pray. Like it was this place where there were like it was judgment, a judgment, a judgment to the point where you could not even pray good, just because you feel like you were not worthy of praying. And this, I'm saying this, I don't know, for anybody who has had the same experience as me, they will say, which is different from here. And when I say here, I don't know so many churches that here in the USA, but for the one that I've went to, and this is the one that even I'm going to right now, and the one that I was going to when I was in college in Fayetteville, it's very different. For the first time, I was able to leave my comfort zone to be comfortable enough to be vulnerable with other Christians, other friends who had the same belief, who were going in the same church as me. I was, even with my flaws and with everything that I had, I was never ashamed to admit that I'm struggling something. They were there praying with me. They were there praying for me. I know most of the time they say African church and African culture and everything, they kind of have this community, which is true in a way, but to a certain extent. And they say community, they have that when you come out of the church, and we have this place to go meet. But we never had that community of where you guys are allowed to be vulnerable, to talk about your struggles, and having people who pray for you. It was always this taboo thing. You are struggling, you have to kill yourself due to the sin that you committed before you come out again. And my prayer and wish, honestly, is that we change and we allow people to be vulnerable. The fact that we are saved, the fact that we are Christian, it doesn't mean that we are perfect. It doesn't mean that we won't sin. It doesn't mean that we won't have flaw. It just means that we are in a place where we know that sinning is not our nature anymore, and we have that grace through Christ to pray and ask for forgiveness and trying to do better. Because again, when you are born again, there is this place where you know even when you sin, that's not your nature, and you know that what you did was bad, and you are crying and praying for mercy and asking God to change you. But it should never be something that you're like, oh, you cannot pray anymore, you are bad. Because I'm telling you, there was time that due to things that I was maybe due to things that I was worrying, because again, there are so many things that today I do, it will be considered a sin. And it was never my conviction. It was never something that was written in the Bible to say that this is a sin. But just because due to our culture, it was seen as a sin, and that made us not even having a relationship. I'm sorry. I feel like growing up in African church, I never had a relationship with Christ. I saw Christ like this judgmental God who is there looking at me every time when I do a sin, is there to punish me and make me feel so bad to the point where I could not pray. And it's something sometimes even now I struggle, because I would pray, as I said, the way tunafanyaga ibada in the house, I would go to sleep. And this is something even recently happened. And when last week I went to Bible study, we started talking about things like that, and I'm like, Lord, I still have a long way to go, because I can pray. Maybe I did something, I sin, and I did pray. I go to sleep. You know, when you are trying to sleep, like at the back of my mind is like something's like, how dare you sleep after what you did? Honestly, I'm telling you, even if Anisha Maliza kuomba, I've already prayed, Anisha Maliza, I'm done in kulala, I woke up again and starting to pray for the second time, just because I feel like, how? Like, how can I sleep? You don't deserve to sleep. Like, it kind of makes me feel so bad, just because that was something that was like, it was put in me. And I wish our church back home could cultivate in a place where we get comfortable talking with our leaders. Because honestly, even sometimes our leaders, people that we trust, people who we call pastors, people that we look up to, they make us feel ashamed that we don't deserve forgiveness. Like, honestly, something that, again, here is different. And that's why I feel like the gospel from Africa is different from here. I don't mean to say that you have to be kujiachia, like you should sin every day. No. But let's learn to have grace, just like Christ did for us. Like, yo, yes, walikufa, so we can have that. So we can be in a place where we come to Him with everything that we have and be like, Lord, I know I have flaws. I know, like, I know who I am, but through you, ile damu limwaga, I can be washed, but without making people feel like they cannot even come to church, they cannot even pray. And that is something that I'm grateful for the church that I'm going to now, and where I was when I was in college. They made me see Christianity and our relationship with Christ differently. Now I can go and pray, be like, hey, God, it's me again. You see me, you see, you know what I'm going through. You know my flaws. I don't have to hide. I don't have to kill myself for whatever I did. Yes, I know I did. In our home, when you see, you're like, Lord, I'm praying so I can be able to push in that sin. But it doesn't have to be where you feel like hauna value, because that was never the point of Christ dying for us. And I feel like our church most of the times, and the way that we grow and the way that they preached to us, it was never about Christ that much, like it was about our culture. Our culture kind of went deeper than, honestly, personally, I feel like more than the Bible. Like it was more about what you convicted, because again, that's what, and that's why I feel like you guys should see, you should look at episode number 1 and 2, because those two, we talk even about conviction. You will be convicted about something. It doesn't mean that someone else who is doing it is a sin. Just like you can be convicted to be wearing majipo. Sorry, I'm not trying to be mean. Just like you can be convicted to wear long jipo, it doesn't mean that someone who is wearing jipe yakumagoti is a sin. Just like the way you can be convicted to wear kanzu au kikwembe, doesn't mean someone who anawear pantalo is a sin. No, because that too is something that I feel like goes with that. Kukwa convicted about something doesn't mean someone who's doing it is it's a sin. It's a sin. Sorry. Like, let's learn to have grace. Let's learn to give space to people to grow in Christ. Because personally, I feel like our relationship with Christ is just like a baby. Unazaliwa, you are born, you don't have teeth. And this is something my dad always preach about in our ibada. Unazaliwa, you don't have teeth, unanyonya maziwa mama yako. There is a time unaanza kukunywa ile maziwa mkikopo. There is a time unaanza kukula kaugali. It's a process. It's growth. That's why it is called growth. And that goes with Christianity. Who said nikikuwa leo Mkristo every sin zinaoshwa? How many people in the Bible? Solomon, David. How many people in the Bible that today we look up to? Or Moses, what is sin? And their sin was written in the Bible, just to show us that at the end of the day, we are humans. We have our flaws, we struggle. But again, with that, there was grace. God was there showing them grace. So why not as Christian community can we share grace? Show people grace. But it's so sad because instead of grace, it's judgments. And honestly, I'm saying this and I'm sorry. That is something that's different from how I grew up. And when I say how I grew up in our community and where I am now, yo, hakuna usuto wa kujaji watu. And I wish we could learn to have that. Here they teach you to have a relationship with Christ. They show you that Christ is not someone that you need to be afraid of. It's your friend who knows your flaw, and hata toka nje, never ever making fun of you. He's there knowing your struggle, and he's keeping up with you, trying to know and trying to help you overcome whatever struggle that may be, whatever sin that may be. and you can talk to him anytime. Even when you're doing like this, you can be praying. You can be driving and praying. You can be going, you can be doing anything and you are praying. It doesn't have to be this gonna try to make a space, because if you have to do that, what about people who works schedule the phone? That means they will never pray. Lakini when we make relationship with Christ not that scary, it doesn't mean that everything will be rainbow sunshines. I like to say this, no, but let's make a space where people feel comfortable talking about their flow. Because when I talk about it, I just want you to remember me in your prayer. I just want to have that person that doesn't make me feel ashamed. I just need that safe space to be me and showing my flow so that you can pray with me and not making me feel like, ugh, she's this. But most of the time, with our culture, with the way we don't give people that space. We don't. We don't teach young girls and boys that relationship with Christ, it doesn't have to be this scary. Because honestly, for me, I grew up feeling like it was scary. It was that thing with that God right there looking at me, judging me. But it doesn't have to be that way. And today, my prayer and my wish is that our community and could see and understand that our walk with Christ doesn't have to be always like it could be something that is amazing. It doesn't mean that will be smooth, no. But at least when you have people who value you, who show that yes, you may have flaws, but doesn't mean that you're horrible. Because honestly, that's how most of the time we're made, like they were making us feel like we're this horrible creature. Just because I don't abide by your conviction, just because I don't abide by what you were raised into. Because again, with that, I was raised in a household where so many things were different, like from others. But doesn't mean that I'm horrible or I'm not a perfect Christian. Because again, there is no perfect Christian. We all are humans, we have our flaws. So let's just try to give grace again. Just like Christ gave us grace and mercy. Thank you. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I want to hear from you.